Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am really excited to share my conversation with you today with Hilary Hartling, woman after my own heart, because she is a marketing maven as well. She spent 15 years marketing movies, the fancy stuff that everybody gets excited about: Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Touchstone, and DreamWorks. She helped launch multi-million-dollar franchises and manage global brands with fiercely, I love it, fiercely loyal fans. Hilary has a deep knowledge and intimate skill in growing and leveraging strategic brands. She made the leap, and that's what we're going to talk about today, from corporate to her own business, brand strategy business, and she helps others create unforgettable brands to inspire their audience. She is on a mission to help visionary entrepreneurs make an impact by translating their brand vision into aligned strategies and clear messaging that resonate. So I'm excited to unpack all that. Welcome to the show today, Hilary.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Felina. That's quite the intro, I know. So I appreciate that. But yes, it's been quite the journey. So there you go.
Yeah, fantastic. So take us back. Where are you from? What was the career path? What did you do?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into your current business.
You know, if I took you way back, I would tell you that I always wanted to be like my mom, and she was a school teacher. And it wasn't until the day I found out how much money she made that I said, nope, sorry, I'm going to be a business owner. And I didn't really know what that meant back then, but after I graduated from college, I thought I had to get a real job. I'm using air quotes right now. So I had jobs in advertising at agencies, doing marketing and advertising, but it was with these brands that were like airplane, tech, political candidate brands, and I could not have been more bored. I realized I needed to be inspired by my work. And so I made a list, and I made a list of all the things I loved, no matter how silly it seemed, but movies were always at the top. And I don't know why I hadn't realized up until that point that I could work in the movie business.
This is a thing. People do this, right?
It is. I knew nothing about it. I did not know that, for instance, something like Pixar was part of Disney, or, ESPN or ABC was part of Disney. Like, I didn't know any of that, how the studio system worked. I knew what I wanted, though, and that is such a testament to, you don't have to know how you're going to get there. You just have to know what you want and start taking action towards it. So I basically created my dream job. I did grad school, and my internship was at DreamWorks. Soon met all the Disney people and got my job there, and literally spent 15 years doing work I absolutely loved. But I think with any job, when you stop having growth, you start feeling stuck. And that's how I felt the last couple years at Disney. And sort of the mantra, I don't know if this is like this with other corporations, but at Disney, if you've been there for a long time and you want to go, they say hold on until you get laid off, because it eventually happens. Then you can get your great severance package. So that's what I did. So in early 2015, I ended up getting laid off in a whole reorganization of the marketing division. And they paid me for over a year.
That's great.
So I treated it like a bad breakup, Felina. I said, I need a month off for every year I was at the company. So I took 15 months off before I even thought about really kind of starting something new. And, I kept thinking, okay, well, maybe there's another corporate job, another studio, another something. But then I felt like it was going backwards. And I realized that I had my dream job, and now it was time to build my dream business. Awesome. So I transitioned, and I started, putting out feelers. And what I ended up doing is learning all of the stuff you have to learn when you become a new business owner. And it's completely different than the things you know when you're in corporate.
Big time.
It's
Yes.
so different. And so I learned all these things. I made all the mistakes new entrepreneurs make. I didn't even brand myself at the beginning. And I'm a brand strategist. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, you know how it's so much harder. It's like 10 times harder to do for yourself what you do for others.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through all of that stuff, and then I figured it out for myself. And now literally I help other people create their dream businesses by understanding literally how to message and know who your client is and know how to talk to them clearly and cohesively with a brand that actually inspires people.
Fantastic.
That's kind of what I do. Yeah.
I love it. Well, it's interesting because, this podcast, a big part of the dialogue is around what we like to call leaning out. So that moment that you decide that you are no longer going to play the corporate game and go out on your own. But I'm also in the same boat as you, which was actually 3 layoffs. I was in small startups and, bought, sold, downsized, you name it. And so, I think there's a story with that kind of forced entrepreneurship, if you will, as well.
Yeah.
It's a blessing, or it was a blessing for me. And it sounds like probably a blessing for you as well. I lived in LA for 6 years and had some friends of friends that worked for Disney up there. And I just remember hearing them say that so much work. I mean, just the, great company to work for, but the burnout rates were pretty high in the folks that I know. Was that part of the decision of moving forward and doing your own thing?
It's interesting. I mean, we could have a whole nother conversation about like sacrificing yourself for work, because that was me for sure. But it wasn't that I was burnt out. It was that I wasn't as inspired as I used to be because I wasn't growing. And I think like what you said, like when you're in a certain circumstance, like your whole world when you're inside Disney, your whole world is Disney. It's like a bubble, and you're sort of on that hamster wheel and you're doing all the things. But it wasn't until I think I had to be kicked out, right? If I wasn't kicked out, it would have been hard for me to understand like what to even do next, what to think about. I had to like leave and like pick up my head and like see, oh, there's a whole world. It's not it's not just about the movie business even. It's not just about Disney. There's like an actual whole world. But I will say that, I like for the past couple years, like the last couple years I was there, I was thinking like, okay, what am I doing? And I was thinking growth, and in my mind I was thinking only as big as my current circumstances. And I was like, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll do more on the international side or the digital side of marketing within the studio doing movies, because that would have been growth for me there. And what I ended up getting, because I basically kept saying out loud I wasn't growing, is like the universe sent me personal growth. And I'm like, I guess that's what I needed, right? And then it's so interesting. So it was actually January 1st, 2015, where I decided, you know what? I feel like I need to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, so let me start Googling some things. Let me update my resume. I Googled something about mid-career transition. I don't know what I Googled, but what popped up was a questionnaire. And the first question that popped up on this questionnaire was, what would you do if you were 10 times bolder? And I instantly had an answer. I said, oh, I would leave Disney. I would not have another job. I would take an entire year off. I would do workshops. I would travel and see friends. I would literally start writing again, all the things that I felt like I didn't have time to do because I was so consumed with work at Disney for so long. And that felt so good to me. And I put that out there. I wrote it down. I looked at it in the morning. And 2 weeks later, I went into a 9 a.m. meeting, and 22 minutes after that, drove off the lot with a severance package that gave me the whole year off.
That is so amazing. Well, you got it, girl. You put the vision out there. You believed in it, and it happened. That's some pretty quick turnaround.
Like, yeah, I have some powerful manifestation skills once I decide. So that's the one thing you always have to do. And even with my business, when I started deciding I would do a business, at first I was wishy-washy. I was still looking at the job boards and the job opportunities, thinking, well, what if there's something I can't say no to back on the corporate side?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I turned off all the notifications from the job boards and stopped looking and decided go all in on the business that my business actually worked.
Love it.
So
Love
you have
it.
to
Love
decide.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to be all in. Absolutely. We actually have
you.
a member, Hera Hub DC, who has a business called the All In Entrepreneur. She has a group, and really, really great woman, Rita. But I love that. I love that All In Entrepreneur. It's really, we talk a lot about this concept of what I call shiny object syndrome as entrepreneurs of the, look over here, this looks good, that looks good, but we're being really committed to what you're doing, who you're doing it for. Obviously, there's, tweaks you make along the way. You've had your business about 3.5 years now. What are some of those, I don't want to say pivot because that's such an overused word, but, inflection points where you had to weave a bit?
Yeah, well, honestly, so I would tell you at the very beginning when I told you I actually hadn't branded myself yet, I came out of the gate because one of the things I did when I was on my wonderful hiatus from work was I found Brendan Burchard and I became a certified high performance coach. And I thought, oh, how cool. This is amazing. I'm all in on this. And then so when I launched my first website, I had all the things. I had, I'm a high performance coach. I am a marketing consultant. And by the way, I can do branding. Nobody knew what to come to me for. So I was finally like, okay, what are people actually always asking me about? It was always branding stuff. And so I focused it in just on branding. That's how my business took off. But over the last 3.5 years, what I've done is I've really allowed myself to experiment with my own brand so that I could bring that knowledge back to my clients and audience. So one of the biggest questions I always get asked right out of the gate is, should my brand be my name or should I create a name for my business? And what are the pros and cons of both? So I started as my name is Hilary Hartling. My official thing is Hilary Hartling Headquarters with the LLC. But it was my name. And so I tried that for a while and then I switched it. So near the end of last year, about a year ago, I switched to Brand Polish Co. And that gave people a sense of what I did right in the name, right? And so I tried that. But what I found was it removed too much of me from the brand and people didn't like that.
Yep.
So I did it so I could experiment, but that has been part of the evolution of my business is deciding really how to position my own business for my audience and really seeing what works and what doesn't work and being really honest and transparent about that with my audience so they can take that, what I've learned and apply it to how they might want to think about it for their own business. So now I've officially just this month gone back to my name as my brand. And honestly, it has picked up like crazy.
That's great to hear. I love it. Thanks for sharing that story because it is something that people really grapple with. I know when I had a marketing strategy business prior to Hera Hub, I started off with, I had a different last name at the time, so it was Taylor Marketing. And it was through one of my clients who just in a conversation said, you give me such incredible perspective on my business and what I'm doing. So I thought, well, that's a great word. So I renamed my business Perspective Marketing. And that's what stuck for the next 6 years. I think now in this day and age, so to speak, with the proliferation of Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube, your point is well made, is you are your business, right? I mean, people are engaging with you. They want a piece of you, so to speak. They want your expertise.
People want my brain on their brand. That's literally what people want from me. And it's going to be different for different businesses, but you do have to kind of look at both sides and weigh which one's going to be stronger for you and your business. But whether it's a product-based business, a service-based business, named after you or not, people are going to want to know the person behind the brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, again, going back to some of these tools, and I'd love your opinion on video, right? Using video in your business, as you said, people want to know who you are, the maker behind, the brand, so to speak. How are you seeing video used with some of your clients? Just any advice that you have around video for entrepreneurs?
I mean, video is so important for your business because it does really help people get to know who you are and what you do in a more relatable way where they feel like they know you almost like a friend, and that's what people really want. I just added a video to my website this month as I relaunched my brand under my name, and I call it a 60-second brand video. And it really just is the heart of what I do for clients. And so people get to know me and what I do really, really well. Video is always good, but I want to say that strategic video is what's really good, right? You don't want to just do video just to do video because people say video is a good thing to do. You have to have a strategic content strategy, whether it's written or it's a moving picture, right? It's all about telling a story well and telling it from the perspective of what your clients will be attracted to most, what they're going to take from it, be inspired by. People want to be inspired. And so they want to see something that inspires them and moves them into action for whatever it is that you help them do. And so I think video can help get people there quicker. So I highly recommend video, but I recommend strategic video so that you're doing it the right way for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Well, tell us, what are some of the other things that you work with clients on, maybe even a case study or two, an example of somebody that you've worked with recently?
Yeah, okay, let me think about this. You know, I tend to attract creatives to my business a lot, so creatives and consultants. But some of the creatives I've worked with, it's interesting. I've done a lot of pivots for people in their business where they want to rebrand because, for example, there's a wedding photographer I was working with recently who wanted to completely pivot into brand photography, right? And so they're taking the expertise they have, but they're pivoting to an entirely new audience. And when you turn to a new audience, that means you need to rebrand. You have new messaging, you have new struggles, you have new challenges, you have new goals and ambitions from your audience. It's a completely different person from wedding to business owner, right? From bride to business owner, I should say. So it's really fun, though, because it's like you can take their expertise and just really hone it into a certain direction. And the thing that I run into with people the most is they have all the ideas, all the thoughts, all the, things they know they want to do. And branding is really focusing it and actually taking that and honing it into an articulate message to reach the person you want. And I cannot express enough how much I tell my clients to actually go and talk to the people that they're going to be targeting, they're going to be working with, and finding out the words straight from their mouth, because that's the best messaging you can get, right? It's not how you think you want to say it to them, but how will they say it, and what are they searching for on Google when they're looking for someone like you? Yeah. And I've seen people just really, once they get the messaging clear and they know what it is, they just take off. They just start talking about it the right way. They start posting content that's aligned. Like everything they do is in alignment with their brand. And the brand is everything about your business. It's every touch point you have with your customer. So it's literally everything from the invoice you send and how you're doing that to the service or product you deliver to how you show up on an Instagram story. It's literally every single thing about your business. So it's really thinking about the strategy of it, and then how do you implement that? And then how do you market that? It should all be lined up. And what I did at Disney was I was the head of synergy in the marketing division, which is basically just means how do you put everything together? Yeah. It's all these different parts working together. And that's how I feel about branding, is like when I help my clients put it all together, that's what people have the most trouble with. That's what they struggle with, is putting it all together in a cohesive way that makes sense so their audience understands what they do. And so all of my clients really start taking off once they have the messaging clear. And that's what I've seen lately with a lot of my clients. And I've done everything from, photographers to social media consultants to feng shui masters to wellness healers to productivity masters. It's like, it runs the gamut, but it's also it's a lot of female business owners who are finally doing the thing that they have the most passion for. And I think that's what drives it too, is they finally really care about the work that they're doing.
Yeah, Absolutely. And it's so funny to me. It's not funny, haha, funny, but interesting to me that we just, I'll say by and large, people struggle with doing that for themselves. We are so close to it, right? I mean, we can't see the forest for the trees. And so it is critically important to engage somebody outside, that has that objective perspective. And as you said, go talk to your customers. We just had this conversation the other day with a group of members. Why sit there and wordsmith for 2 hours? Just go talk to your customers and say, when you tell somebody about me, what do you say? Right? I mean,
exactly. Well, and the other thing that everybody likes to talk about an avatar, and an avatar is really great. It's a great intention, but I don't want someone to make it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't want someone making up a person. I want them to go find the real people and model their avatar after that. Like, what is your real ideal client? It's an actual person that you know. Or oftentimes I tell them, do the mirror test, because oftentimes it is a version of you from a couple years ago, even a year ago, a few years ago. You've been through something and now you're turned that around into a solution or a something that you're helping people do. And you are your best client.
Yep. Very, very true. Love it. Great advice. So let's go back to something you said a few minutes ago, Hilary, what I call symphony of communication channels. What is your advice to somebody in related to brand and extending their brand onto channels? Do we need to be everywhere? Do we need to be on all the channels all the time? Like, how do we decide?
In terms of marketing your brand?
Yeah.
No, you don't. I think what you need to do is you need to choose the ones where your audience is. Like, it's dictated by your audience. So you have to know where are they? How can you reach them best? Like, do they prefer being in a Facebook group? Are they always on Instagram stories? Are they now on TikTok? Who knows? Or are they more, business-minded? They're on LinkedIn all the time reading all the articles. Like, know what it is. And it could be multiple of those things. But I think it's also like, what are the top places where your audience is at, and just go all in on a couple of them. I don't think you need to be ubiquitous with every single platform that's available, as long as you're doing it well on at least a couple.
Great advice. Absolutely. Well, Hilary, what are you working on, in the upcoming months? What's the horizon line for your business? What are you doing?
Well, I have been doing a lot of, my business has been mainly built on one-on-one. And so I am working on some strategies to do one-to-many. And so a digital branding course is on its way. It's being built right now. And then possibly some kind of membership or retreat is going to happen in 2020. So it's good to follow along and see what it is. But I've had so many people following me for a while now, just kind of not only saving their pennies, but also just waiting for me for like something that is more affordable for them than my one-on-one. And, if you want only my brain on your brand, you come and do my one-on-one, and a lot of people do that. But I think there's something that I want to do for greater impact in terms of helping even more business owners just get really clear on how to talk about what they do in an articulate way. So I think the course is going to help that, but I think even what comes after that is even going to be more helpful too, so that they know how to not only create the strategy for their business, but also then implement it and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for their business.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome. Well, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, Hilary, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, honestly, it's my name everywhere. So if you go to my website, it is hilaryhartling.com, and it's HILARYHARTLING. And you will also find me on Instagram, is my favorite platform to hang out at. So that's also at Hilary Hartling.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Hilary.
Thanks, Felina.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.